That's why we see this coordinated effort to pit black America against white America. And I believe that effort will fail.
You were wonderful. Hang on.
We have the incident outside. Police officer's been shot. 2 suspects have been shot. Possibly have explosives on them, okay? That's what we're worried about right now. We are going to move y'all into the auditorium here in just a minute. I just need everybody to remain calm, be kind of orderly, and we're going to take you into the auditorium a little further away from the front of this building.
There are Muslim followers and lemmings who hate everything that does not follow their way of thinking. Not everybody, but there is that faction. You can't deny it. So let's balance it out. There are anti-Muslim activists and their lemmings who hate everything and everyone connected with the Muslim faith. Not all believe at that level, but the faction exists. Keep that in mind as we center on a cartoon drawing contest in Texas and the chance someone could have been killed trying to either make a point or incite something like this to happen. Our guest is the co-founder and vice president of the American Freedom Defense Initiative, the group that held the event this weekend that could have turned into something even more deadly, but instead ended in the deaths of the alleged killers themselves. Robert Spencer's on the hard line. Robert, thanks for being here.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Robert, what did you hope to gain by offering a $10,000 Best Cartoon Depiction of Muhammad contest?
We hoped to gain a general understanding in the West that the freedom of speech was important, was valuable, was worth defending. That the adage, may not agree with what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it, is an important foundation of any free society. And that therefore it is imperative that we stand up against violent intimidation, that we refuse to allow ourselves to be silenced by threats, silenced by murder, that we will not be intimidated into silence, but we will continue to speak, because if we allow ourselves to be intimidated into silence, then we are effectively giving the signal that terrorism works. That if you go and murder people, then you can get them to do what you want, get the survivors to do what you want.
Let's bring this up then.
That would end up with a rule of murderers.
If you don't mind, Robert, because we're short on time, I want to make sure we get everything in here. You paid an additional $10,000 for the security, GISD security officers, uniformed, ununiformed police officers, bomb personnel, SWAT personnel, along with FBI and ATF. Why so much security if all you were doing was just having a simple meeting?
Well, all we were doing was having a simple meeting, but we were aware that there are Islamic jihadis who believe that if you depict Muhammad, however favorably as well as unfavorably, you should be murdered. And having a steady and sober regard for that fact, we were intent on assuring the safety of the participants. And so the Garland police did a marvelous job, and we owe them a great debt of gratitude. We also spent an additional $20,000 or even more than that on private security. It was a very secure event, as evidenced by the failure of these jihadis to gain entry.
Is there any remorse whatsoever in the fact that by having this event there simply with the caricatures of the Prophet Muhammad, which we know certainly makes some people very angry, that more people might have been killed, that more innocents might have been killed had these officers not done their job well? You could have had dozens of people dead last night.
Ed, your question is predicated on the assumption that I would have been responsible and the other organizers would have been responsible had anybody been killed.
You would not have been
responsible.
responsible?
The reality is that the responsibility would have lain with the killers and only with the killers. We were showing artworks and cartoons. There is nothing about that that should move anyone to kill, and it's absolutely ridiculous and insane that anybody would kill on that basis.
But you do know that there are people who are that insulted, though, Robert. There are people who are that insulted who do feel there's a very small faction who believe that they will kill for that. And we've already noted the fact that this is a fringe group, if you will. This is on the outside. They believe in that. So just by having those cartoons, people say you were inciting it, is all you were doing. You were looking to incite something and looking to create an event.
No, they are inciting it. If they are going to kill, it is their responsibility. The worst thing we can do is knuckle under and say, oh, you will kill if we do X, then we won't do X. Then they'll think, oh, all we have to do is kill them, and then they'll do what we want. And so we're giving them carte blanche to kill enough people to get us completely under their thumb. It is absolutely inimical to the idea of a free society. We have to make a stand against it.
Okay, now here's Ibrahim Hooper, the spokesman for the Council on American Islamic Relations. He says that the group that exhibited the caricatures of the Prophet Muhammad, your group, you have made a career of promoting inflammatory hate rhetoric and hoping to provoke some response from Muslims. Listen to these comments, please.
Pamela Geller and her ilk thrive on that tiny minority of individuals who react as she hopes they will react to her extremist rhetoric. And she makes money based on that inappropriate reaction. We believe that Pamela Geller, like a neo-Nazi or an anti-Semite or anybody like that, has the right to free speech.
Robert, your response.
Well, you know, this is all just ad hominem attack. Hate, bigotry, neo-Nazi. You know, Abraham Hooper didn't say anything of substance there. He doesn't address the fundamental point of what is he doing to rein in his violent co-religionists, and whether the freedom of speech ought to be protected even if it offends against Sharia blasphemy laws. You know, you invoke him as some kind of an authority when his group has demonstrable ties from the demonstrated by the Justice Department to Hamas, to the Muslim Brotherhood, when there are many CARE officials who have been convicted of jihad terror-related activities, and when his group has told Muslims not to cooperate with law enforcement efforts. That's hardly an unimpeachable authority.
Well, people also call your group a hate group.
Well, exactly. They use that kind of rhetoric to smear and defame anybody who speaks the truth about the jihad terror threat, hoping to marginalize us so that the jihad terror can advance unopposed.
Are you going to have these competitions again?
I think we have to. It's a moral responsibility at this point that we stand up against violent intimidation and against those who say we should silence ourselves in the face of it and voluntarily adopt Sharia blasphemy restrictions. Look, I'm not a Muslim. I don't believe in Sharia blasphemy, and I'm not going to allow that law that I do not believe in to be imposed upon me and upon free people.
We will hope no one gets hurt or killed in the process. Robert Spencer, American Freedom Defense Initiative, thanks for joining us, and the Hardline continues.